all these rejections from the middle Bollinger Band.
Resistance we're going to need.
If you actually see here, we get a
And we'll look for a healthy higher
I
low.
would not
don't have
be
the
convinced
pullback
to
to
enter
cross
long
structure.
trade.
Hello, crypto friends. Hope you had a good weekend. Wrapping it up here on Sunday. Reminder, we're on Instagram now, the Chart Guys, posting all these fancy thumbnails and some videos and things. Also playing around with the My Story or whatever it's called, where I post little snippets of life and more of a day in the life kind of thing. And check it out. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, ZRX. Before we get into it, one of our members, Cryptobi, pointed out this indicator that could come in use for you where it points these pivot points, it marks them in terms of price levels to save you from hovering your mouse or trying to determine where they are. And if you go to indicators and click pivot points and high low, and then you go in and you change the settings are currently on 1010 when you get it, but if you change the endpoints to 5.5, it's a little bit more accurate. So change that to 5.5, and then you get these nice numbers, and you can play around with color and all that stuff. So what we have now on the daily chart is a clear equilibrium on Bitcoin. Shouldn't say now because it's been that way for a long time, but it looks like our lower high has been set. So our daily lower high is 66.41. We're now pulling back and trying to form a higher low while holding support of 63.99. Pretty much this daily chart is going to break this week. We're going to see a break of this daily equilibrium pattern. Pretty much a sure thing, as we have 7 trading days to go in the week, and we know we can't get a whole bunch tighter than this. You can see the volume is already significantly dropping off. These are some of the lowest volume days, and of course it depends on the exchange, but pretty much across the board, some of the lowest volume days we've seen of the year. And when you get tight to that point, it's also to the point, as the thumbnail alludes to, that our video views are down. And that is certainly noticeable with the price action in the cryptocurrency space. As things get tight and people get bored, people stop watching every day. And you'll see that across all kinds of metrics in social media, but this is definitely one of them. And then of course it's going to spike bullish, and everybody that was napping and not paying attention is going to be chasing in whatever direction we do break. But it's important to remember that, again, when things seem boring and it seems like, oh, nothing's going to happen, time to take my eyes off things, that's what a lot of people do, as clearly the statistics are showing us, but that's not the right way to be doing it because, again, then you're going to be sleeping when the move does happen. So Bitcoin, even if we get a bull break, so this is why not all equilibriums are created equal, and this is where a little bit of human interaction is ideal in the sense of you gauging certain things. For example, what I mean here, we have a multiple top at 66.42, 66.40, 66.41. So a triple top right here. If we break this resistance, I consider that a bull break of the daily equilibrium pattern. But because the next resistance is so far away, I'm not going to be confident in just that initial level breaking. If we break that level, it's a good initial start, but I need the confirmation with the break of these two levels, and we could break 66.41, see a $100 move, and then still reject from this resistance. So keep that in mind. The proximity of other resistance levels is notable, and that's the same thing for the weekly time frame. If and when we eventually get a weekly bull break, the next weekly resistance level is going to be a far ways away percentage-wise from wherever we do end up breaking from, whether it's 7,400, which is currently still my lower high, or if it's 67.87, if we were to get further pullback. If we break this daily equilibrium bearish, then I will say our weekly lower high has clearly been set, but we aren't set on that lower high just yet. But the point is, when these breaks do occur, it's a lot of percentage space for the next resistance level, and we have to be gauging volume to say, do the bulls have enough momentum to make it up to that next resistance level, or are we still going to reject even though we broke one resistance level? So checking in on the 4-hour time frame, again, it's choppy, so I always look what time frame are things the most clear. If I look at this 4-hour chart the last few days, it's choppy enough that I would say, all right, that's not the time frame for me right now. Daily chart's where it's at. I don't need to look at anything but the daily and the weekly chart until we get breaks of these ranges. And that keeps it nice and simple. That keeps you organized, and that keeps you from overthinking, overtrading, looking for clues on shorter term time frames. Again, if you are successfully scalping in this market, and I say successfully because if you are scalping in this market and losing, you need to, in the chat room, we say put oven mitts on your hands so that you are not trading. You have to have the discipline to not trade in this kind of environment and just wait. Either trade something else or get off the computer and go do something else, keeping your phone handy so you can see any alerts coming through that things are picking up action. But again, you do not want to be over trading in this environment. I'm saying it almost every day in these videos now because it's such an important point to drive home. If we change the trend on the 4-hour time frame and we head back up to 66.41 resistance, we'll say, all right, our daily higher low has now been established. Bottom line is the volume is telling us we're getting extremely tight and breaks are imminent sometime in the next few days. ETH on the daily chart, also extremely tight. We have another support level here and another resistance level here, and we've been trading within this range now for the last 6 days. So 6 days with a range of 214 to 230, and that's essentially a $16 range. Not a whole lot of space, but we are trading tighter and tighter. Look at the volume here, just completely disappearing. The last 2 days volume, you can add those together. Look at the last time it was this low. We had another equilibrium that broke bearish. Volume gets to a still point and then a big spike in volume. So we're watching the declining volume pattern. At this point, it's almost every single day for the last 10 days plus, and a break is imminent is the bottom line. Again, 4-hour time frame. Some clear lower highs here, so a little bit more clarity. Change that 4-hour trend for the bulls, and our daily higher low will be established, looking for a break probably Monday or Tuesday with these names. XRPUSD had a big bear break, so we followed that bear break yesterday, and we're down testing those lows again, and we did break to lower lows. So we're still watching the support level back here at 43.55, and our new daily lower high is 549. Anything under that level of 549 is just a lower high, and we are watching this support level as we approach it. Got to get my magnet on so the levels are right. So 435, fading down. The 4-hour RSI was oversold and cooled off, and notice how that oversold bounce was short-lived and cooled off the RSI enough to see continuation down, but we're not seeing any follow through for the bulls right now. Here it is on the hourly. We had a V-shaped recovery, no confirmation of trend change, no follow through. We would have had to have seen a higher low and higher high. Look at these exponential resistances. Again, this is why I've loved them ever since I discovered them trading the cryptocurrency space about a year and a half ago almost, a little bit less than that, but just consistent rejections from exponential resistance, and we know the bears have complete control as long as we cannot get over these levels. So it's clear hourly lower highs, and here is this indicator marking them. We have another one here at 4789, another one at 4785, and just limited support. It's very clear that we have to get over these exponential resistances for the bulls to see any kind of bounce. At this point, if I were looking for a bounce to follow through on XRP, what I would be doing is playing this 15-minute time frame and playing a trend change on the 15-minute from here, and then I would just put my bottom fishing play below current support. But I would have to see a trend change, and in this point, we would have to see a break of 474 for me to be interested in the bulls at all. That would be step number one, and if we do not break that level, I have absolutely no interest. And that being said, the bears are going to be patiently waiting for an oversold bounce. So look at the 4-hour chart. Once we get a bit more of a bounce and some follow through, and once the daily chart starts bouncing, we're going to look for a daily lower high compared to 549, and that's when bears are going to be looking to strike on any bounce attempt. So oftentimes we'll come across a bearish play, and this happens to me in stocks all the time, where I find a bearish play, but I say, all right, I'm too late. I missed this move. The 4-hour RSI is too extended for me to be comfortable bearish, so I'm going to wait for a bounce to play out. I'm either going to play the bounce, or I'm just going to wait for the bounce and then make a bearish entry once I have resistance levels nearby and once the bears or once the bulls have cooled off the RSI level with a bit of a bounce. ZRX BTC, we had some news come out. Well, not news, hype on social media, on Reddit and such, and I meant to put the screen capture here, but basically there's the wallet function now on Coinbase, and everybody's saying, hey, ZRX is going to be listed on Coinbase now. Here's the initial steps. It's not official at this point, but it is looking like that is a possibility, and that's enough to make the market run. So here we are looking at ZRX BTC on Binance, and we saw a huge bull move show up. Let's look at it on the daily first. So significant follow through on the daily. We changed the trend. We saw consolidation, and then of course this news, huge bull volume spike into continuation. So how could we see this news coming? Number one, if you are monitoring social media, that's definitely a start. If you are trading, with a group of like-minded people, catching that alert can let you be aware that a move's happening. But otherwise, we watched a 4-hour equilibrium form. It was nice and clear. Here are our levels on the 4-hour equilibrium. The equilibrium broke bullish about 10 hours before the bull volume came in. So the initial signal was a break of 9921, breaking the 4-hour equilibrium that had been playing out for days, broke it bullish, and then there were other signals with the alert system that got picked up. This is the 15-minute time frame. Here is a price shear. Price shear is when the price moves above a moving average. So we have a moving average price over a certain period of time. And then when there's a spike significantly above that level, it triggers off. So we had the bull break on the 4-hour, trigger a 15-minute price shear alert. And then we had another one when we saw continuation, and then abnormal volume started coming in. And again, when abnormal volume was triggering, it's comparing the volume to the previous action, which was elevated. But if you compare that elevated volume to what we then saw transpire, it doesn't even compare. So that was a beautiful heads up that was saying, hey, there's some volume picking up compared to the action we've been seeing over the last, half dozen hours. And then, of course, the price action and volume poured in. We saw tons of abnormal volume alerts and significant follow through. So where we stand right now, what we're looking at on ZRX BTC is healthy consolidation. And right now, the hourly chart is trying to form a higher low. Again, very healthy. 111 is currently support. And if we look at the shorter term time frames, the 15-minute, it's a base of support that really needs to hold here. So 1103 and 111 are very clear support levels. If these levels break, there's a lot of space to the downside, and we will see a bear volume spike if that break does happen. Look at this volume just slowly taper off, and we're waiting for clarity and direction. We're either going to see the 5-minute trend change and the bulls take back over control, or we're going to see a bear break of that double base of support and a bear volume spike. So again, this is where a good example of technical analysis not being predictive, being reactive, where I can say, all right, if we break this support level, I go bearish for a flip. And if we break the 5-minute trend bullish, I go bullish and use that double low as my stop level. So at this point, I'm looking at resistance. Most clear is 11.59, and it looks like we may be setting a lower high right now, 11.415. So if we pull back here, form a little 5-minute higher low, and then break 11.415, that's a potential bullish entry signal, letting us know that we're going to remain in a tightening pattern, and that would tell me that an equilibrium is likely to form on the hourly. So change the 5-minute trend. Again, I just made a video for members about using time frames and using longer term time frames, finding a clear setup, and then using the shorter term time frames to find the confirmation of that setup. So I would look at this hourly chart and say, all right, huge bull move. The most likely scenario after a big bull move or bear move into new territory is an equilibrium. After the size of this pullback, I would say, all right, we're now looking for the hourly higher low to form. And if we bounce, there's enough space between resistance and the pullback where we dropped all the way down to that we would look for a lower high to form and an equilibrium. So if I'm looking for the higher low of the initial start of the equilibrium to form, I would say, all right, we need a 5-minute trend change to mark that higher low. So now I'm just patiently waiting on that 5-minute trend change, and you can see how just going through those different time frames makes things so much more clear. It's just a little story that we are looking at in terms of 5-minute time frame is going to give us the signal of the follow through for what we're looking for on the setup for the hourly time frame. And then we'll be watching the hourly chart perhaps for a potential equilibrium alert, that a new alert that we got going. We'll see if that fires off and lets us know when the higher low is more convincingly formed. That will probably fire off here in another hour or so. And keep an eye out for the volume spike, volume dropping off. And again, the hourly time frame and the 5-minute time frame, things most clear. So we'll check back in on this one tomorrow just to see how this play did end up playing out. But good example of using longer term time frames and shorter term time frames in conjunction with each other for the overall picture. So I appreciate you watching. Do some good things out there today. And at the end of the video, I'm going to hold off on Iceland to wait for the MJ stocks to catch up tomorrow. But we got some Nerdbird, and I forget what else. Nerdbird and maybe some goats, maybe some pigs. I think it's pigs. We'll see. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.